Forget everything you think you know about the RMS Titanic. Not the movie scenes. Not the dramatic slow-motion break. Not even the stories passed down for generations. Because for the first time in history, the ship itself has finally told its story, and what it revealed. It is far more terrifying and far more real. In April 1912, the world believed it had built something unsinkable, a floating city of steel and ambition, the pride of modern engineering. The RMS Titanic left Southampton, bound for New York City, carrying over 2,200 people, passengers from every class, millionaires, immigrants, dreamers, crew members who knew every inch of the ship for 4 days. Everything went perfectly. Smooth sailing. Calm seas. Confidence. Because it was late one night, everything changed. The iceberg didn't smash into the ship the way people imagine. There was no massive gash, no giant tear ripping open the hull. Instead, it barely touched it. Just a glancing blow. Silent, deadly dot. In just a few seconds, the iceberg scraped along the side of the ship, opening a series of small punctures. Tiny openings. Each one is no bigger than a sheet of paper. Harmless, right? Wrong. Because those small wounds stretched across a huge section of the ship's body. And that's what doomed it. The designers had built the ship to survive flooding, but only up to a point for compartments. That was the limit. The iceberg flooded. 6. And in that moment, the fate of the RMS Titanic was sealed. At first, no one panicked. Why would they? There was no explosion, no dramatic crash. Just a strange vibration, a quiet realization among the crew. Something was wrong. Deep below deck, in the engineering spaces, men saw it first. Water. Cold. Relentless. Pouring in. They knew immediately. This wasn't a minor problem. This was the beginning of the end. Up above, passengers were still laughing, talking, sleeping, completely unaware, until small, impossible details started appearing. Ice. Inside the ship, chunks of it scattered across the floors of cabins. People woke up confused, cold, hearing unfamiliar sounds. Metal, groaning. Pressure building. Something unnatural. And then, the truth began to spread. Get to the lifeboats. At first, it didn't sound urgent, almost like a precaution. But as time passed, the tone changed. More serious, more desperate, because the ship was sinking and there weren't enough lifeboats. But here's what most people don't realize. While chaos was beginning above, something incredible was happening below. In the boiler rooms, in the engine compartments, a group of men made a decision, a choice that would cost them everything. They stayed. The engineers knew exactly what was happening. They knew the ship was doomed. They knew there was no escape. But they also knew something else. If they kept the power running, lights would stay on, signals could be sent, lifeboats could be lowered safely, and hundreds of people might survive. So they didn't run, they didn't panic. They worked for hours, surrounded by rising water, heat, darkness, and the knowledge that they would never leave. And because of them, the ship stayed alive long enough to save others. Above deck, the situation was changing fast. The front of the ship, the bow was slowly sinking, almost gracefully, like a giant lowering itself into the ocean. But the back, the stern, I was lifting higher until it was towering above the water. An impossible sight. Steel bending under its own weight, the entire structure is under unimaginable. stress, and then it broke. But not like the movies. Not smoothly, not cleanly. It tore apart violently, brutally. The middle of the ship couldn't handle the strain. Metal screamed. Structures snapped, rooms split open. Everything inside was ripped apart. The RMS Titanic became two separate pieces. And what happened next? It was even worse. The front half began its descent, slowed, controlled, almost like a submarine slipping into darkness. That's why, even today, it remains relatively intact. Recognizable, familiar, but the back half experienced something completely different. When the stern broke away, it was already damaged, torn open, exposed, and as it plunged into the ocean, water rushed in with incredible force, filling every space, every corridor, every room. And then the pressure began. At that depth, the ocean doesn't forgive. It crushes silently, relentlessly, inside the stern. Air was trapped in different compartments as it sank deeper. That air compressed smaller, tighter, until it couldn't hold anymore. And then, implosions. One after another. Invisible explosions, tearing the structure apart from the inside. The walls collapsed. Metal twisted. Entire sections disintegrated. By the time it reached the ocean floor, the stern was no longer a ship. It was debris, scattered, broken, almost unrecognizable for decades. People argued about what really happened that night. Did the ship break apart? Did it sink whole? Witnesses disagreed. Reports conflicted, but the ocean kept the truth hidden until technology changed everything. Years later, deep-sea explorers finally reached the wreck, and what they found shocked the world. Two pieces, far apart. Proof that the ship had broken in two. But even that wasn't the full story. Recently, something even more incredible happened. Scientists created a full 3D digital scan of the wreck. Not just photos, not just videos, a complete reconstruction. Every detail, every angle, captured in astonishing clarity. Hundreds of thousands of images combined into one massive digital model, so precise, it's like walking through the ship itself, frozen in time. And this scan revealed secrets no one expected, like the exact pattern of damage along the hull, confirming the iceberg didn't rip the ship open, but pierced it in multiple places. Like a series of fatal cuts, it showed how the ship twisted as it broke, how the stern collapsed, how debris spread across the ocean floor, even small details, like open valves, broken windows, and personal belongings. Scattered in silence, shoes, watches, coins, objects that once belonged to real people, now lying untouched in darkness. The scan also confirmed something else. The bravery of the engineers' steam valves. Left open. Evidence that they stayed at their posts until the very end, keeping power alive. Keeping hope alive. Long enough for others to escape. But time hasn't been kind to the wreck. Down there, in the deep ocean, the ship is slowly disappearing. Not from explosions, not from human activity, but from something much quieter. Bacteria, tiny organisms feeding on the metal, eating it piece by piece, turning steel into rust, weakening the structure every single day. The ship is collapsing under its own weight, decks caving in, walls folding, details vanishing, and one day, it will be gone. Some parts have already changed. Dramatically, railings have fallen, rooms have collapsed. Areas that once looked intact, now they look like ruins. And the stern, the most damaged part, is barely recognizable anymore. just twisted metal, ghost of what it once was. That's why these scans matter, because they preserve something that won't last forever. A perfect digital memory of the ship. A way to study it, understand it, and remember it. The RMS Titanic isn't just a wreck, it's a story of ambition, of tragedy, of human error, and human courage. It's the story of a ship that was called unsinkable, but it sank anyway. The story of thousands of lives changed in a single night. The story of people who panicked, and people who didn't, who ran, and who stayed. And now, for the first time, we're not just guessing anymore, we're seeing it. Piece by piece, detail by detail. The truth. As it really happened. Because sometimes, history doesn't disappear, it waits hidden beneath the surface. Until we're finally ready to uncover it. Tell me which city and country you're watching from. Subscribe and follow this story. Thanks for watching.